Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inside Denago, the podcast about Denago and what actually happens in Denago and who sells Denago and what Denago is about. Today, we have a very, very special show. I'd like to introduce you to Brad Martin, the president of Martin's Yamaha, located in the peaceful city of Ocala, Florida. Martin's Yamaha has been in business for 52 years. They sell Yamaha, Kimco, Vulcan, and Denago Powersports. Hello, Brad, and welcome to our
Hi,
podcast.
David. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. How about
I'm
yourself?
doing great. Doing great.
Excellent. So, a little bit background on Ocala, Florida. Ocala, Florida is located central Florida between Orlando and Jacksonville. Ocala is known as the horse capital of the world and is renowned for having over 400 thoroughbred farms. Barnes Yamaha is a 52-year-old family-run dealership started by Brad and Kyle's dad in the early 70s. The dealership is run by Brad, his wife Deanna, and his brother Kyle, a true family-run operation. In December 2023, Martin's Yamaha became the third dealer to sign up with Denago Powersports. Kenny Cook, our Southeast Regional Sales Manager, came to me and mentioned that a 50-year-old Yamaha dealer wants to sign up with Denago Powersports, and this blew me away. So with that being said, Brad, what made you take the leap of faith to become a Denago Powersports dealer?
Honestly, a lot of it had to do with Ken in the beginning. He was a great rep for us on another product line, and I had built some good trust and faith in him. He came to me early on before Denago was even launched and said he had a brand new product that he was going to be representing and thought it would fit us really well. And we went over it back then, and I pretty much made the choice before the product even launched that we would probably jump on board. And I'm ever glad we did. We joined up as soon as you guys got rocking and rolling, and we hit the ground with the wheels turning and running right away. So it's been going good for us.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I could say that, having the relationships in this industry, in this small industry, is so important because, it's about people, right? And and if we, once we kind of know the people, right? And once we're familiar with the people, then we build these relationships and we build the trust. And definitely Kenny Cook, being a great salesperson, he's known you and your family and your dealership for a long time. And I think, it was, I think, a good move on him to come to you guys, and also a very great move for you guys to take the leap of faith to bring the Denago on. Obviously, we offer kind of some few special things that not too many others do at this day and age. So one thing, Brad, I kind of want to mention to our viewers here is that in 2024, Johnny Hayes, our national sales director, and Kenny Cook had the pleasure of visiting Martin's Yamaha, your dealership. And when I came there, I was so pleased with what I saw. It's a beautiful dealership, well organized, clean, very inviting, and a very special Yamaha Banshee hanging from the rafters. So kind of tell me a little bit about your dealership, how it started, how it's a family-run business, and lastly, tell us a little bit about that Yamaha Banshee that we all love.
Sure. So my grandfather started our dealership. I guess officially we got started up in Georgia as an Indian dealer.
Okay.
Somewhere in the mid-'60s. They did that for a few years, I think about 4 years. And then my grandfather became a factory Harley road racer. He moved down to Fort Lauderdale, opened up a Harley Davidson dealership. Him and my father both were road racers at the time. My father ended up getting a ride with Honda and rode with Honda for 1 or 2 years. Harley didn't really like that. So at the time, Harley was still kind of AMF, and they weren't selling the best at that time. So they let Harley go, and we kept Honda. And I think about a year later, right there in 1970, right around 71, 72, my father got a ride with Yamaha, factory Yamahas. When that happened, they offered him a dealership option up here in Ocala, Florida. My parents were looking to get out of Fort Lauderdale, and so they took the offer. We've been in this, not the same location, but we've been in this town ever since. And it's been great. My brother and myself carried on the racing traditions. We did a lot of watercross racing in our days, won several national titles, came close on some World Cups, and set some records. So we kept that tradition going. And I now have a young daughter who had her first race two weeks ago. So we're doing motocross with her.
Wow.
And so we're continuing on that tradition. And
That's awesome, man.
yeah, we keep that up.
Awesome. That's so cool to hear.
It is great. It's a wonderful thing to carry on that tradition with the family and instill those traits and characters of racing and responsibilities onto a child. It's a whole lot scarier from this end as a parent. didn't realize
I can
quite
imagine.
how much of a difference it would be. I think I was more nervous watching her race than I ever was at my own race.
Of course, of course, of course. It's always like that. It's always like that. Yeah. And tell us a little bit about that very special Yamaha Banshee
Yeah.
that you have hanging from the rafters of your showroom.
So, being a Yamaha dealer, obviously we had those for sale in the day. And I think sometime around 2007, we had one Banshee left over in our inventory. They stopped production on those in 2006, if people aren't aware. Right around 2007, I decided maybe we should hang on to this for a little bit, just because of how iconic the Banshee kind of already was and has been. We took it into our showroom, and at the time, YouTube and all that stuff didn't really exist too much. We did some little videos on our phone of us putting it together in the showroom in the crate. We actually built it in the crate and then lifted the entire crate to the ceiling and took the full weight out of the crates. We never put the tires on the ground.
Cool.
It's kind of our thing. We just wanted to make sure it never touched the ground, and it's been hanging there ever since 2007. I had many offers to buy it, and a couple outstanding offers still going, and we get people almost every day who come in to see it or want to buy it.
I can tell you, when I walked into your dealership, I wanted to buy it too because that thing is so cool.
It is very
so cool.
Original hang tags, original everything, and it's never been touched.
It's a museum piece for sure. And I mean, anyone that loves Yamaha, loves the ATV sport industry, knows how special the Banshees are, and it's such a collector item that it become nowadays.
Now we're just waiting for Denago to bring out its two-stroke replica of the Banshee here. That'll be a great day.
That would be a great day. Honestly, I would love to see that. Actually, that'd be really, really cool. But I don't know if we're quite there yet. Yamaha is incredible engineers, but hopefully we strive to be that one day. Of course, definitely. One thing I wanted to say is that when Johnny Hayes, Kenny Cook, and myself we visited your dealership, and we spent some time with you guys. We also had the pleasure of going out to dinner with you, your wife Deanna, and also Kyle. And you guys took us to the World Equestrian Center. And man, what an amazing place that was! It's just unbelievable place. And I can say to everybody and to anyone that's listening, anyone that's in the Ocala area, definitely they have to visit that place. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah. Whether you're into horses or not, it's worth a visit. It's like a Disney World for horses. It's amazing.
It really is. And thank you again so much for taking us and showing us around. It was very hospitable, and thank you again so much. Yeah, one of the things I kind of wanted to talk to you about is on that first visit that we came to your store. Obviously, it was the beginning for us. And, I talked to you. I said, hey, Brad, now that you're familiar a little bit with our vehicles, what would you like to see as far as improvements? And you told us about some cables and some controls and things like that. But one of the things that you had mentioned was that you said, hey, Dave, the E-Hawk has a certain type of a tire that's on it, but the Mudhawk 6 doesn't have this tire. And, this tire that's on the E-Hawk, I would like to see it on the Mudhawk 6. And I said, yeah, okay, sounds good, Brad. I'll work on that. And so it took me a little bit of time, but I can tell you that here for the 2026 model, the Mudhawk 6 will have those same tires as you recommended. So that, I guess, kind of goes to show that how important the feedback from our dealers and consumers is, and it really goes up the chain pretty quickly from there on out.
Sure, it's very inspiring as a dealership to be involved, even in just the smallest level of any part of production of a product or changes in any motorsports. Never really been that in Yamaha. They're a pretty big company, so we've never really got to there. But we've had some input on Motor Trike, their custom trikes. We've helped them with some things. I helped them bring a product to production, and just a small suggestion to you guys. It's neat to see it implemented, and I think it goes a long ways because the dealers, if they've been in this a while, they know what the customer wants. Where we see them every day, talk to them every day. We're the first point of contact with them. So, hopefully we can help bring something to the plate that brings value to the brand.
Absolutely. I always refer it to the boots on the ground, right? You guys are the boots on the ground that every single day talk to consumers, like you said, and the feedback that you get from consumers and the wonderful job that our dealers do, such as yourself, relaying that information to us, and then myself passing it on to the engineering and development department to get those put in place. It's so important. So thank you for that. And, one of the subjects, obviously, I wanted to kind of talk about today, which was a lot of our consumers may not know ATVs have age ratings. and that's basically set by the CPSC, and that's essentially this kind of the same age rating as you have for cigarettes, you have it for alcohol, any of those things. And especially when we sell ATVs, children's products, small ATVs, those are very, very critical. So if a lot of our viewers may not know, but ATVs, they kind of start off with the age rating of Y6, which basically means for 6 and above, and then Y10 age group, and a Y12, a T14, and a G16. Right. So I would like to ask you, Brad, like, so when a consumer comes into your dealership, what are some of the ways that you guys encourage and talk to the consumers about age rating, and how is that kind of involved in your sales process when a consumer wants to purchase a small ATV for their child?
Yeah, thanks for asking. It has changed the format of which we sell small four-wheelers and ATVs because we have to adhere to that rating, and it's a good rule they have. It keeps the children safe. It keeps them from getting on these giant automatic four-wheelers that, a 6-year-old can drive one of these 700s nowadays, and these things go close to 100 mile an hour. And all they need to do is be able to hit the start button and hit the throttle. So putting these age ratings on there really helps keep the kids safe. It really keeps the dealership, polices us. And, when we get a customer in, we just completely ask them straight up front, how old's your child? What's their experience? What are you looking to do with them? And if somebody's got a child that's pretty advanced, let's say, or they've ridden a lot, they've kind of already exceeded the age limits of where they should be. It happens often. We see it. We just kind of redirect them. We usually send them over to the motorsports side, get them on 2 wheels where there's not such an age restriction. And, it usually works out well. We just kind of push them over to that side.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point. I really like what you said about moving them to the motorsport side, because this industry that we're in, it's a wonderful family environment type of an industry to be in, right? But however, there are some inherent dangers that go with this sport, obviously. And there is that aspect of people getting hurt, especially kids getting hurt if they're on something that's too big, right? So that's why the CPSC and the ANSI standard specifies the size restrictions, speed restrictions, four-wheelers or ATVs for the age category. So like, for example, when you have the smallest rating, which is a Y6, right? The Y6 means for 6 and up. The CPSC per se, or the ANSI standard, doesn't really care about displacement, but they care about top speed. So Y6 is limited to like 14 miles an hour, right? Actually, 15 is a top speed. And so, but when you get higher in the age groups, like the Y10, Y12, then the top speed of the vehicle increases, and so does the size of the vehicle. But for small ATVs like Y6, which is the smallest ATV, size is limited, speed is limited. All those contributing factors are there for these ATVs. And again, that's specifically designed to keep the rider safe as possible. Another thing I want to talk about too is I think a lot of consumers may not know, Brad, that not only us, but every manufacturer that sells in America, there is a safety course that's offered by the manufacturer for new consumers to take advantage of. How does, let's say, for example, Denago or Yamaha or any of those people offer that safety training to the consumers?
They usually send an email, of course, when we do all the filing and registration paperwork. So that gets the customer's email and the file in the hands of the company. And that company will send out a notification letting the customer know that there's an ATV training course they can take and where it's at. Some of the companies even pay a small stipend to go take it. Usually that's to cover the entry fee to the place that it may be at. Or sometimes it's just an extra bonus and incentive to get people to do it. I think it's great. It really has driven a lot of people to go take the course. They just spend about a day going through the basics with a trained professional who shows them the safe ways to go up and down a hill or how to apply throttle on and off without being dangerous and, how to control your body weight. And there's some technique that comes to riding these things that people do need to be taught if they've never been on one. It can really build confidence a lot faster when people get that training and, are shown these proper techniques. Kind of like water skiing. You don't just jump on and do it right away, but with a little technique and a little guidance, you can get it pretty quick. So
absolutely. And I mean, you made a great point, right? Which is when the consumer purchases the products, we do a product registration on the back end, right? The dealer does. And that information goes to the manufacturer and also is relayed to the SVIA, right? ATV, and SVIA will contact the consumer and say, hey, you know what? We know you purchased this product. Hey, these are the classes that are available for you to take the safety course. When do you want to go? What do you want to do? And there's also a manufacturer incentive for taking the class. and passing the class. And I think, what's really cool about that, which is one of the points you made, is let's say, for example, you have a new family that really isn't into ATVs. This is their first ATV that they're purchasing for a child because they want to get him out of the house and out of the computers and the YouTubes or whatever. And they want to purchase this ATV. So they purchase this ATV, but yet they're not, let's say the father or the mother may not be as trained with four-wheelers. So they take them to this nice class, like you said, and an instructor will tell them how to use the brakes, how to learn and lean into turns, and all those wonderful things that comes with ATVs and safety that's involved to keep the consumer and the rider very safe. So it's a wonderful thing I think the industry is doing, and I think more people need to know about.
I agree. I mean, a lot of the sports and hobbies we all do or get our kids into nowadays, they all carry risks. They all carry some inherent dangers or risks of being injured or something to that effect. Motorsports is no exception, of course, but the training really helps curb those numbers of people that get injured. It really does. It helps people be safe, learn how to get into this thing. Nobody gets any bad scares in the beginning, and it just chases them off from this industry. Because that can happen, little kids being exposed to these motorsports and not knowing what they're doing. Sometimes, they could have a scare and they may never come back. So it's important that we don't really expose them to that. And like you said, having these age restrictions, the speed limits, the wonderful things Denago does with having remote kills. I mean, I can't express enough how much that really builds confidence in the parent to have some kind of remote control over their kid's unit. So when you set them loose for the first time, you can turn it on and off on them, at your will. So it's really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And the feature that you're talking about, some of our consumers may not know, but we offer a wireless kill with the small ATVs. And that basically, within a set amount of range, if the parent sees the child is doing something that they're not comfortable with, they hit one button on the wireless remote and it turns the ATV engine off. So then the child can coast to stop essentially. And it is a great safety feature to have. It's not a mandated feature, but it is a safety feature that we put on our vehicles. And yeah, I definitely think it's very important. And it gives, I think, the parent another level of comfort when it comes to purchasing this ATV with the safeties that are built into it.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So switching subjects a little bit. So obviously, 50 plus year dealership, it's a huge accomplishment for you and your family. And, your brother growing up in this dealership, essentially, how did that start? Like, was it kind of like an automatic thing where you were like, hey, you know what, Dad, I want to work in the dealership? Or it was just, you guys were there ready to go and it was just from day one, it just kind of happened like that?
I think for me it was. For me, I was born ready to ride. I was racing ATVs when I was 3 years old, and it never stopped. So I had every bit of interest in it. I think I knew I would be working in here pretty early on. I started at the age of about 11, doing just little bits in the store and cleaning bikes, and started building bikes when I was 12. It continued on from there. I became our lead technician by the time I was 18. And just continued on through the business as the years went on, and progressed, learned sales, learned management, spent some time in some other industries, learning some other trades, and it's all helped me out a lot to become this way. My brother was a little bit slower. He raced and did the sports as well as a young kid. It took him into his mid-teens, almost 20s, to decide that he didn't really want to do the full college route, and he wanted to be motorsports. So that's what he decided to do.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with DNA, right? And us looking up to our dads and them being our heroes. And, and that's, I think, a lot of what this industry is kind of about, right? That family experience. And if your dad owns a really cool Yamaha store and you see cool Yamahas coming in and out, you're automatically attracted. It's a magnetic thing that you're like, oh, I want to be involved in this. So I could see that. I could for sure see that. And I think if my dad had the same store, I would be in that store every single day for sure. So at an early age, like you're saying. And I think also one thing is so important that I guess your dad brought you up from the beginning, from the bottom, kind of all the way to the top. You just weren't thrown in there as the president of the company, right? So you, like you said, you started washing ATVs, then you started wrenching on ATVs, then you moved into the sales department. It's such a good progression because you get to learn the fundamentals of the business. And I always say that, hey, you have to know the product that you sell. You have to live it and if you don't live this product, eat and breathe this product, and know everything about the product, then you're going to be successful at selling it and making consumers understand what this product is about.
Yeah, I mean, owning a business is not a get rich quick scenario for really anybody. There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and if you're not in this for the love of the sport, you probably won't last. You probably won't stay in it. So you need to have some enthusiasm and some want to be a part of this industry, to really appreciate it and get everything out of it. But for those of us that have it and those that are coming into it and acquiring it, it's an amazing industry to be in. It has changed a lot through the years. The family owns like us are slowly, almost all bought up by now, but they were slowly being bought up over the last 10 years and owned by big corporations. The face of the motorsports industry has changed a little bit. It looks more like a car lot or traditional car industry, but there's still some family-owned businesses like us out there. And by and large, those are typically the dealerships that are really the enthusiasts. They really have an enthusiastic staff. Everybody that we hire that works in this store, doesn't matter what department they're in, they pretty much are riders. They own their own products. They know how to work on them. They know a lot of it inside and out. And I require every single one of my employees to take all of my sales tests and all of my service tests. That way they just know little tidbits about the product that other dealerships sometimes don't know. And our customers appreciate that a lot. Being in the type of town we're in and having the clientele that we have, it goes a long way when we know our product really well. And not only that, we know the other products a lot of times better than some of the other dealerships. So we pride ourselves on that. It's something we're very happy to be part of.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very, very important. Obviously, being in a small town and having those relationships with your consumers is so important because, those consumers may start off at a young age, but then they become fathers or mothers, then they'll bring their children into it. And then as grandparents, they'll do the same thing with their grandkids. So having that great reputation as a small, welcoming, and friendly staff is so, so important. And I felt that when I walked into your store. I felt that it was one of those places that it was a comforting environment. It wasn't a pressurized environment where it's like, hey, you know what, you have to buy something. No, it was very relaxed, very chilled. And I felt like, hey, I could spend some time here. I can talk about ATVs. I can talk about, motorcycles and jet skis and all the products that you guys sell. And hey, you know what, at the end of the day, if I decide to buy something, this would be the place that I would buy it from. So I got that vibe from your dealership for sure.
That's what we like to project.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's not an easy task either. I think a lot of people don't understand how hard that is to do because obviously the dealership has to make money, right? So then they have these pressured salespeople who have to sell. And, and not all consumers like that I don't think any consumer actually likes being in that pressurized environment.
Very few seem to
appreciate feel it as a consumer. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, hats off to you and to your family for doing what you guys are doing and creating this nice environment where people can come and actually enjoy the buying and servicing of power sports.
We want lifetime customers. I mean, we're out here. We sell products like the Stasic. They're little electric bicycles. We're looking to get your kid on something at 1 year old, and get them started and get them in their gear and get them safe. And if they stick with it, we're here for you for the long haul. We'll got every product you need as you move up. So that's the goal.
Absolutely. And I mean, the other cool thing is that watercraft, and, you were telling me you're a watercraft racer and you actually knew our previous marketing manager, our current brand ambassador, Steve Lawler, very much. Yeah. And you guys used to race jet skis together. And so it's really cool. It's a really small industry, niche type of industry, and everybody kind of knows everybody. And I think that's also the other thing too with the reputation, and because it's such a small industry and having that good reputation is so important.
It is. There's a lot of other brands out there you can choose from, but for Denago to come in as quick as they have and implement themselves in the industry and really take a sharehold of the business, of the industry, it says a lot for you guys. You've come a long ways in a very short amount of time. You've brought a lot of products to idea, straight to production in times that surprised the heck out of me. I've been doing this my entire life. I'm 43 years old. Over 30 years in this industry. I've never met a company except for you guys that has been able to give a timeline for a product and then show me pictures of it 6 months before we were even supposed to see them. And then all of a sudden it's at my doorstep, 6 months to a year ahead of time. And that's really surprising. hats off to you for that, because I know it's not.
I really, really appreciate it. Obviously, I work with an incredible team of people, not only here on the state side, but also on the development side and the manufacturing side. Obviously, they're amazing, very passionate people, and it's a lot of work. It's a huge amount of work. I was sharing with a friend of mine who's been in the industry for like 50 years, and I said, hey, this is what I've done in the past 6 months. And he's like, wow, David, do you ever get some sleep? I said, yes, yes, I get some sleep, but it's ridiculous. Even when I'm sleeping, I'm thinking about this stuff.
Yeah.
And, my wife, and I'm sure like kind of like your wife, where you go home and you're still in this industry and in this mindset. And they're like, hey, you know what? Just get off of that stuff and just concentrate on this. So I'm sure you kind of get that too. But it's fun. It's a lot of work. It's enjoyable. But yeah, it's very important for us as an organization to make promises and to keep promises. And I think besides that, for us to really have that bond and partnership with our dealer is, I think, very critical for me from day one, because I don't want to lose that connection that I have with the dealer, because the dealers are who we started with and they believed in us, believed just a word of mouth really at that in the beginning. So yeah, I never want to lose that, and I'm gonna work as hard as I can to keep that connection with our dealers and to continuously listen to them, because without them we're nobody.
It's highly
So that's
appreciated.
very
Highly
important.
appreciated.
Of course, of course. So I want to also talk to you a little bit about where do you think the industry is kind of going? Obviously we're very similar in age. We're probably a year apart, and you've seen a lot of things come and go in the industry. But what do you think some trends and some nuances that are going to be happening in the industry?
It's changed a lot. As we more people come into this world, we build more homes and take away more riding areas. So, a lot of the riding has now gone to condensed parks, where when I was a kid, we just rode out the back door, went into the woods and rode all day, and went pretty much wherever we wanted without much trouble. Since I was a kid, that's changed dramatically. Very few places can you do that anymore, but at least a lot of the people in the industry have now built tracks and built riding areas and facilities where you can go mud or play around, and that has helped keep the industry booming. But it's kind of changed the focus of where people ride, I guess you would say. So everybody's more into a load up the bikes and go for a trip mentality, instead of just open the garage door and let's go out and ride in the neighborhood. So it's become more of a family oriented sport because of that attitude. A lot of people have their RVs and their campers and they make weekends of it now. We load all these toys up, we go play for a couple days and come home. And so it's really made it a more family oriented sport. I know the products have gotten crazy. We've got these mega high horsepower units now, and we've got technology that's just unbelievable in these things. It's really come a long way. I've seen a lot of changes in the years. I think electric is making its way into the industry, of course. I mean, it's already here. Denago's got a few products, or a product that is great. The E-Hawk has been a phenomenal selling unit for us. And there's a few other products out there that do some electric stuff that have done really well. I think we're still several years away from them being any type of mainstream product for the companies, but it's coming. It's down the road, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think for our industry, because we're kind of behind the automotive industry a lot, right? So like, for example, throttle by wire, right? Automotive gets throttle by wire, and then it takes us 10 years to adapt throttle by wire into our vehicles, right? Whether it's street bikes or ATVs, whatever it may be. So we're behind that curve of automotive. But I think this industry is a little bit different from the automotive industry, where, electrics make a lot of sense for commuting wise and saving gas and this and that. But I think for this industry, we want to feel that horsepower. We want to feel that engine. We want to smell that two-stroke. It's a little bit different, I think, in our industry. I think for child's products, it makes sense because children obviously are a little bit shy away from loud sounds and vibrations and things like that. So that's why those smaller ATVs make a lot of sense. But I think for larger adult type vehicles, I agree with you. I think it will happen eventually, but I think our consumer base is probably not ready to take on that adaptation anytime, in the
In the
next
very
one
near
or 2
future, yeah,
years.
it's a little ways
Yeah,
out.
I don't.
We've got products
I
like the
don't. I
Star
don't see
Bar
it.
that do really well, but it's a niche category and it's got its place. But yeah, I agree with you. The adult driven electrical stuff is still a little ways away.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I can say that that Stark Arc is a really cool dirt bike. It's amazing. I think the technology built onto it. But I think mainstream, if you're gonna do a lot of trail riding and this and that, there's some downfalls. Yeah.
Yeah, limit.
But I think, yeah, some limitations, but I think eventually things will come around. But yeah, for us, that E-Hawk is pretty special. And I think we're going to expand on that idea a little bit in the near coming future, a little spoiler alert. But yeah, I think, overall, there is a place for electrics, depending on how you're using it. As far as your dealership is concerned, obviously at your dealership, Yamaha being the primary brand you guys sell, and you guys sell jet skis and all the type of products that you sell. But can you also tell me a little bit about the things that I guess that consumers don't see, which is the parts and service side of things in your dealership? How important are those to a dealership such as yourself?
Extremely important. Whether you buy the product, it doesn't matter what we buy nowadays. We want some support down the road if we have a problem with it, especially when we're shelling over thousands of dollars for a new motorcycle for or even just our kid. If something goes wrong, they need some support. They want to get it fixed, and they want it done in a timely manner. Our service department is phenomenal. My guys are trained really well. They've been with me for a while. My service rider has been, or my service manager, excuse me, he's been with me on and off for almost our entire, since I've been here, let me say. I think 25 years. He started with me when I was a young kid, worked with me in the service department for a while, and he moved on, went through some other dealerships and some other parts of the industries. But about 4 years ago, he came back to me, and we took him on as our service manager. So his wealth of knowledge of not only our products, but our store and how it runs as a whole is unsurpassed. He's right there with us. So we've hired on some great techs below him. They do some great work. I mean, we really do some phenomenal repairs, from the simplest of tire and chain adjustments and oil changes all the way up to complete full motor rebuilds with high-end modifications and all that good stuff. We love to do it all. I mean, we build 100-mile-an-hour jet skis routinely. We built some wicked fast Banshees. We built some awesome motocross bikes. We prep kids to go straight to Loretta's and all these major motocross events, all the way down to the kids' first Christmas toy, and just giving them some lessons and tips and how to ride it in the showroom here. So we do all that, and then we carry all the parts and accessories to back it up. A lot of dealerships don't carry a lot of parts, accessories they make, but a lot of parts is something that it's expensive to have, just one brand. Yamaha, I don't even know how many different products we have for the 26 release, but it's somewhere around, with jet skis included, like 60 different pieces, 60, 70 different models. And then we've got Vulcan and Denago and Kimco. And so to carry parts for every one of those products is not impossible, but it's fairly undoable for a dealership. It's a really high expense to put all that stuff in the back and let it sit there on a shelf until someone needs it. But we do. Well, we carry a lot. We have a lot of vintage parts and a lot of current parts. So it helps us keep our customer satisfaction ratings high. Our CSI scores were always at around 100, almost unheard of in the industry. I know almost every other Yamaha dealership has to jump through tons of hoops just to get those CSI scores over the required 90% that Yamaha makes us have. We carry a 98% to 100 all the time. And I truly believe a lot of that is just the way we do business, the way we follow up with customers after the sale. And we always give a return phone call within a week to see how their product's doing, if they have any issues, they come in for anything. We typically schedule their first service right on that phone call, and we get them in and out within hours. They don't have to wait days. Typically, we get that product in and out. And if they need a part, hopefully that's the one we've got sitting on the shelf. We get it thrown on there and get them right back out the door and riding.
What an incredible thing that you just said. And I mean, you really have to like slow down and think about exactly what you said, because it's so many important points that you just hit right there, right? The after sales phone call, the scheduling of the first service, carrying parts in stock. Those are huge accomplishments, I think, to do as a dealership, to take time away from your busy schedule, to do all those things for a consumer, to make the consumer feel how welcomed back they are to the dealership. Because as you know, a lot of dealerships just like to sell vehicles. They hate that, even the idea of service or warranty work. They just don't like it. I have no idea why, but they just don't like it because they don't think it's a profitable thing, or it's not a money making thing for them. So they just forget about that. But it's so important about what those things that you just said, and that's again testament to why you have a 52-year-old Yamaha dealership and why it's a family-run dealership. That's the key
I
right
haven't
there.
spent a dime in advertising in 4 years.
There you
I
go.
don't have to. I've got most of my customer base, probably 50% of my customer base is continual customers, returning customers that we've just built relations with. And I was taught by some service advisors long ago in some classes I took that your best customer will typically come from the customer that you've had a bad experience with. Somebody that you've had a problem with, something's broke, their product has failed, whatever the issue may be, how you handle that situation is what sticks in their head. And that sticks in their head a whole lot more than the buying process. So, if they have a unit that breaks down and they can get a phone call from us, a week later before they've even had a chance to call us and say, hey, this wasn't working right or whatever the case is, my guy's calling them and saying, hey, how's the product? And they, oh, by the way, I've got this flat tire or whatever the case is, we're right on the gun to say, bring it on in. We'll take care of it. We'll get that thing plugged, patched, repaired, placed, whatever it needs. And if we don't have to charge you for it, we'll bill it to that warranty if we can. Or in certain cases, we eat the bill. It's worth it, to build those relations with the customers over time.
And I think that's a part of the secret sauce, right?
So,
And I think a lot of people who are successful understand that, and some that are not as successful don't understand that customer interaction, how important it is. And like you said, the after sales part of it. So yeah, again, Brad, I want to say thank you again so much for taking time away from your busy schedule to have this podcast with us, and also to be a wonderful Denago dealer. You're the number 3 dealer that signed up with Denago, so it's quite special to us. Okay, and we plan and we hope that you will be a Denago dealer for another 50 years, and your daughter and your kids will hopefully carry on that tradition. So again, thank you again so much, Brad, for everything that you do, your family does, and thank you for spending time today.
Absolutely. We are pleased to do it. More than happy. So you're very welcome.